12-3 to the Guardians. But don't worry, Sox fans, we got a lot more talk about your Southsiders here. Time for a live Gimme 5. Our buddy Josh Nelson from Sox Machine in studio, fresh off his trip from Texas, scouting the top baseball player on the collegiate landscape, the presumptive #1 pick for your White Sox, UCLA's Roch Cholowsky. He's already got a White Sox name, a Southside name, Roch Cholowsky. His Bruins played in the College Baseball Series at Globe Life Field. His 2-run homer Sunday in the 9th inning sent the game to extra innings, where the top-ranked Bruins beat #4 Mississippi State to win the tournament. So what were your big observations, takeaways from seeing Roch up close?
It was a great experience. Before that 9th inning, Josh, my story was I flew down to Texas to see college baseball's best player have the worst weekend of the season. And then magic happened. UCLA down 5-3. Leadoff hitter gets hit by a pitch, and it sets the stage with 2 outs for college baseball's best player to come up in the biggest moment. And everyone in the press box knew immediately when Chilowski made contact that ball was crushed, and it flew into the upper deck, and then everyone's story changed. And that is the thing that I take away from that weekend is offensively, there are some things that Chilowski can work on. But even though he had not the greatest weekend, he can still deliver in those big moments, and he has big power. But my biggest takeaway is defense. He is an outstanding defensive shortstop. In their win against Texas A&M, UCLA 10-ruled the Aggies. But post-game, everybody wanted to talk about Chilowski's amazing defense. He just had a web gem highlight reel in that game. And UCLA's coach, John Savage, said that the best thing about Chilowski is that you not only feel his presence offensively, but also defensively too. And that's the thing that all college coaches, especially those 3 SEC coaches, also backed up with Coach Savage is how good he is defensively.
So I have a question. I don't know if you asked this question, having a rough weekend. Did you talk about how was his demeanor? Because it seems like the guys that are able to have those big type of moments, they don't let it get to them in those moments, and they still stay calm. Especially in the game of baseball, most of the time it's between the ears. You can kind of get down. Did you ask those questions of how his demeanor was, even though it wasn't going his way?
He wasn't fazed because he knows, Jarrett, that he still has to play defense and he can still impact that side of the game. So if he can steal runs away, even though he's not coming up with the big hits, that's fine because he has faith in his teammates. Will Gasparino hit 4 home runs that weekend. He's batting 8th, Jarrett, and he leads the country right now with 10 home runs. This UCLA team is stacked. Chilowski understands that. He knows that he doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting of the team. He just has to do his job, and he wants to be that leader on the field to show and set the bar high on a defensive level that this is the standard that we play at UCLA.
It's a true once-in-a-generation opportunity for the White Sox to have the #1 pick, first time since, Harold Baines back in '77, and to have this type of player in this draft class. From everything you see and you read, he's the most no-brainer 1-1 since Adley Rutschman a few years back. Gets comparisons to Dansby Swanson, who was taken first overall in 2015 for the defense. Keith Law from The Athletic, he released his top draft prospect list this week. Chilowsky is #1. Some other names, though, and I'm curious, Josh, where you kind of stand on just how far ahead of the pack Chilowsky is. Jackson Flora, the righty from Santa Barbara, then a lot of shortstops, including Justin LeBron. I don't know if LeBron in Chicago has the right ring to it, but we'll see there. Where's Chilowsky in terms of the other best prospects in this draft class?
That same weekend, I did see Grady Emerson. His coach is former Major Leaguer Rusty Greer of the Texas Rangers. And Grady was very impressive. Great athleticism, especially for an 18-year-old. Justin LeBron is much faster than Roch Cholowsky, so that's an offensive part of the game that LeBron can provide that Chilowsky cannot, which is base stealing. And LeBron makes a ton of plays, but what we saw last year come SEC play, which conference play starts this weekend for college baseball, Justin LeBron's strikeout rate jumped up big time. So everyone around the country is kind of wait and see right now with LeBron. He struck out over 25% of the time against conference pitching. If that holds up again, I wonder what happens to his draft stock. But you guys know with Jackson Flora, anytime you get a starting pitcher who can still hit 100 miles an hour in the 5th and 6th inning, every MLB team wants that because starting pitching is so expensive these days. So I could see Jackson Flora being up there in the 2nd or 3rd pick, But right now for the White Sox, and I'm sorry, Chris Getz, you're not that great of a poker player. It really feels like Roch Cholowsky is the #1 favorite for the White Sox at pick #1.
All right, Josh, I got to talk about this current team, man. You were talking about it before we came onto the air. What are your projections? I've seen so many of them. Are we talking about a 70-plus win team or another 90-plus loss year? Is that still on the table?
Well, it's 3 straight years of 100 losses. So if they only lose 90, that's progress.
We'll take 90 here.
I'm cautiously optimistic about the Chicago White Sox this upcoming season. I think their infield has a potential to be at least league average, if not better, especially with Munetaka Murakami at first base, Colson Montgomery, his first regular season. Miguel Vargas, we haven't talked a lot about Vargas. He's having a really strong spring training. A lot of people are showing attention to Sam Antonacci, and the White Sox also have Caleb Bonnemer. They still think highly of Chase Mydroth and Kyle Teal and Edgar Caro at the catching position. Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz look stronger in spring training, so help could be coming to join Shane Smith in the starting rotation. The biggest question for me, Jarrett, is the outfield. Andrew Benintendi has a barking Achilles. Austin Hayes is only on a 1-year contract. Luis Angel Acuna, we'll see what he can do replacing Luis Robert in center field. But Braden Montgomery is on the brink. He's also having a strong spring training. The arrow is pointing up for the Chicago White Sox. That's why this year could be really exciting. And our beat reporter, James Fegan, compared it to 2019. And for White Sox fans, if you remember 2019, come 4th of July, they were only 1 game below 500. If the White Sox this 4th of July are hovering around 500 towards the All-Star break, and Roch Cholowsky is announced as the #1 pick overall, it's going to feel like the White Sox are right there with the Chicago Cubs in playoff contention on the South Side. They're still far away, but there's again, cautiously optimistic. Hope is building up in the South Side.
That's what you can ask for, man. Hope. What is the hope for Mooney? Because you mentioned Munetaka Murakami in the transition from the MPB in Japan to Major League Baseball and big league pitching.
Yeah, a lot of fantasy baseball experts are projecting that Munetaka Murakami is going to hit 35 home runs. He might lead the league in strikeouts, but it's the power ability that the White Sox really need, Josh. And if Colson Montgomery can hit 30-plus homers and Munetaka can hit more than 30 home runs this year, and the White Sox inch as a team closer to 175, if not 200 home runs. We all know that ball go far, team go far. That is an aspect of the White Sox offense that needs to improve. We saw that post-All-Star break in a big way for them. So if they can carry that momentum in the second half of last year to start 2026, again, that's where the White Sox could surprise many teams.
All right, real quick before we get out of here, what about the pitching staff as well? A lot of young arms on there. How do you see them getting ready for the season?
I think we can see as many 10 pitchers make a start for the White Sox this year, which is a lot. I have a lot of confidence in Shane Smith, but 3 pitchers to watch for White Sox fans is Hagen Smith, Noah Schultz, and Tanner McDougal. McDougal is hitting 100 miles an hour right now. If those 3 show strong performances in April and May down in Charlotte, we could see them as soon as June. So it feels like a hockey line shift for the starting pitching for the White Sox. And for the bullpen, they have added big velocity arms. They got Jordan Hicks now and Sir Anthony Dominguez to join Grant Taylor and Jordan Leisure. Velocity was an issue for the White Sox out of the bullpen. They have addressed it this offseason.
Love it. Good stuff. I mean, I'm going to hold you to it. That's July All-Star break, #1 pick.
Go.
Sox maybe being in contention with the Cubs for the story of the season for the baseball. Folks, I'm excited for baseball. That's all it is. So Josh Nelson from Sox Machine joining us here live in studio. Always great to see you, my friend, and appreciate you spending time with us.
Thank you.
All right, we got to take a break. Well, when we come back, more baseball.
Yeah.
Bye.